Oh, hello. I'm Sketch.
And I'm Shades.
And this is Midstream. Welcome back, longtime listeners, to another Midstream. Welcome back, Shades.
Welcome back, Sketch.
Thanks for catching us in between episodes. Winter has come.
Winter has passed.
Well, it's a long winter. It's a long winter.
It's been a long, cold, lonely winter.
Long winter.
The ice has finally melted.
So, guys, if you...
it seems like years since it's been clear.
...are joining us...
Midstream.
Live, like quote-unquote live, then we are...
Live, in quotations.
Right in between...
episode 49.
49, Game of Thrones, and our big episode 50. Which
our
we'll talk
golden anniversary sketch. We made it.
We'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the Midstream here, but we do have a couple of things to talk about on Game of Thrones. Any news this week? Do we have news this week?
Other than all of the Emmy nominations that I can't believe they're getting.
Yeah.
I do like that... Sir Brienne of Tarth nominated herself.
Yeah, she nominated herself.
Because the producers didn't want to nominate her.
Yeah.
And she got the nomination, and the people that they put forward did not.
Ha-ha.
Yeah.
Ha-ha. That's a pop for you. You'll hear more pops later in a couple of weeks at this point. So, all right, let's just get into it. Is there anything that you would like to take back, change, alter about... our discussion on Game of Thrones?
Well, Sketch, I feel like I was very harsh towards Game of Thrones in our Game of Thrones episode, but I stand by it.
Okay.
It left me severely wanting.
All right.
Anything you want to change, alter, take back, correct?
No, I was kind to Game of Thrones because it certainly fell. We talked at length about this. It certainly fell down for me, but it's still the front end of it is so rewarding to me, even if some things didn't pay off at the end. And yes, I agree, there were some big things that didn't pay off, but it still holds a special place in my heart.
Fantastic.
And I just ordered a new piece for my geek arsenal at home.
Cool.
And it's Game of Thrones related. It's the cat's paw dagger.
Is that Arya's dagger from the final that kills the
kills the Night King?
The Night King.
But what I like it for, the symbolism there, is it almost killed Bran. It was so close. Oh, it was so close to killing Bran.
So close.
But we do have some write-ins on this episode for us. So no one should be surprised by this if you are longtime listeners, but nobody from Jakku has written in with a couple more. These are mainly just thoughts, not a lot of corrections, but some additions that we didn't talk about or just weighing in. So I'm just going to read what he wrote in. So he says, concerning how Game of Thrones portrayed violence, I think one of Martin's best qualities as a writer is how realistic his setting and characters are. I find the characters he writes to be grounded and believable, his dialogue to be excellent, and I think the violence was appropriate for the medieval society that he was portraying. That's nobody's weigh in on that. Also, a clarification for us with the question we had about Tyrion and meeting up with Baelish again. He did some digging. Bronn fights for Tyrion in season 1. That's 3 seasons before Tyrion is accused of Joffrey's murder. Also, Tyrion never meets Peter Baelish again after Joffrey's death. There's no evidence that Tyrion even knows that Baelish was involved in framing him. The only other people who know are Ser Dantos, who is dead, Sansa, and the Queen of Thorns, who is also dead. It is likely that Olenna, the Queen of Thorns, took that knowledge to her grave, and Sansa never had a chance or really a reason to tell Tyrion before Baelish was dispatched. So that is an answer to one of our questions.
I guess that's fair. I'll consider that answered.
And a comment for me specifically about Lord of the Rings. He says that actually the story of Lord of the Rings does take place after a giant epic battle in that universe. Thousands of years before the events of Lord of the Rings, the forces of good defeated Melkor, the true evil of the land, and Sauron is just Melkor's lieutenant.
Did nobody from Jakku just come to my aid?
I guess.
Wow.
Begrudgingly. But nobody from Jakku is just a stickler for the facts.
Hey. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've always said that you will thank nobody. You know, that is just a trait of yours.
I just proved you wrong.
No, you did. You just thanked nobody.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then some add-ons that we didn't talk about, but he thought should just make it to the radio waves.
Sure.
The power of Euron's ballistas. These were inconsistencies that I didn't like in the show.
Oh, okay.
They seemed all powerful until the second to last episode when they sucked.
And just what are those again?
Those giant crossbows that could take out a dragon.
Take out a dragon, yeah.
Yeah. Basically hit him with one shot and then you got hundreds and thousands of them.
Well, they had plot armor before that.
They did have plot armor.
Yeah.
That's the issue. And the other point he brings up is that the inconsistency that he brings up is that other families' political ambitions were kind of left alone, then dropped. The whole subplot revolving around the Frey's ambitions to overtake the Tullys in early seasons, but then in the final seasons, they have a grand conclave of about 12 people where Bronn is given control of the Reach and Highgarden. Totally unbelievable.
Totally unbelievable.
And a complete dismissal of what made the story great until that point.
I'm right there with you.
The Game of Thrones itself. It's like, oh, the game is over now, so we will throw everything away and just say that Bronn gets to be in charge of a place that he's never been to. That's one small issue I had with the political fallout of the last few episodes, but it is symptomatic of the writers just rushing to be done.
In a rare turn of events, just some nobody from Jakku and I are on the same side here.
There you go.
It is.
No, I certainly agree with him as well. And
but that's not the point you made in the episode.
What?
But you made the counterpoint in the episode
about
the political right.
Oh yeah, no. And when I was raving about things, I was raving about when they were done well.
Sure.
And then that was a giant subplot that was just left to the wind, scattered to the four corners. But by then the problems were so grievous.
Yes.
That I focused on some other things. And then we got another write-in. This does not have to do with Game of Thrones, but it is about something that we said in the episode.
Okay.
This is from a different user.
Okay.
Or different listener.
Different listener. Yeah.
Not nobody from Jakku. This is, and I swear to God, this is true, somebody from Naboo. Somebody from Naboo has written in.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Just some nobody from Jakku.
Yeah.
And now there is
nobody from Jakku.
Just some nobody from.
That's who just agreed with you.
Yes.
On Game of Thrones.
And now this is
a different listener.
From Jakku.
No, somebody from Naboo.
Oh, from Naboo.
Yeah. Not nobody. This is somebody.
Somebody from Naboo.
And not Jakku. Naboo.
Guys.
Somebody from Naboo wrote in and said, concerning Made in Abyss, season 1 was listed as a huge success. Fans voted it as Anime of the Year in 2018.
Yeah, they did.
And they immediately announced the sequel right after the season ended as a movie, which I did take that guess that it was a movie, that is coming out in early 2020. So for those of you waiting on Made in Abyss to come back, you'll have to wait one more year.
And spoilers, it's not coming back. It's going to be a movie.
Well, it's going to be a movie. And that's what the Japanese animation studios do when they have a very successful property. Like, remember last Midstream or the Midstream before I talked about Keon Studios, unfortunately, with fire. Yeah. They had a very popular anime this year called Violet Evergarden.
Yes.
And that is also getting a movie, which is moving ahead regardless of the unfortunate tragedy. So their second installment of their story is also a movie. That's what happens over there.
Fantastic.
So there you go.
Sounds like a plan.
Do you have any other write-ins?
I do. I have one more write-in from a longtime listener, Emily Ann.
We got a lot of write-ins this week.
Yeah.
This is nice.
And she brought up a couple different things in our Marvel episode, reminded her of Arrested Development did a bit about losing the rights to the Fantastic Four, which I do remember that episode. It was excellent. We'll post a link to that in the show notes. And then commented on, or asked us to comment on, with our Shazam episode, the Sinbad Shazam Kazam controversy. Sketch, are you in the know on Shazam versus Kazam?
I am not. I'm not aware of a Sinbad Kazam
Comedian
movie.
Sinbad.
Yeah, no, I know Sinbad. And he was in a movie about Shazam? Kazam?
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
So this is kind of like a Berenstein Bears thing. And memory.
Bears. Yeah.
Some of us are. What do you remember them as?
The Berenstein Bears.
Okay, and they are the Berenstein Bears. In fact,
all right.
Like when you look at the spelling,
yeah,
I remember them as the Berenstein Bears. And some people posit that we have simply crossed over from a collapsed multiverse and are now in the mainline universe B with everybody else. Our universe A, in which we remember, is collapsed, and they posit a similar kind of idea that perhaps everybody that in this alternate universe, Sinbad was in a movie called Shazam, in which he played a genie, and now that universe is collapsed, but we retain the memory, and we've been folded into continuity of another universe in which that did not happen. But the other explanation is
they're wrong.
That Shaquille O'Neal made a movie called Kazam, in which he played a genie.
Yeah.
Yes. And Sinbad made a number of movies in the early 1990s in which he was the adult mentor of a child. Most notably was First Kid, in which you can very easily sub the plot and set dressings of First Kid and Kazam, and very easily see Sinbad playing a smiling genie in genie garb. Now,
was that about like a presidential kid?
Yes, he was the Secret Service attaché to the First Kid.
Okay.
And the movies unfold very similarly.
It wasn't a biblical epic about Cain and Abel?
No, it was not. Now, I actually had the opportunity to talk with Sinbad about this for another podcast. That episode, unfortunately, never went to air. We didn't record an in-person interview, but we talked at length about it in correspondence. And
so it's an exclusive here.
It is. And we never aired it for that episode. But Sinbad himself chalks it up to memory is fictitious. Like, we know this now, that we remember things in ways that did not happen to suit our own reminiscent needs. But he chalks it up to a fact that with the plethora of internet deepfakes in which people have created movie posters for Shazam starring him, it has now supplanted itself in the memories of millennials as something that they did in fact experience, because he did so many properties and projects that could be substituted. There were enough movies where he played a mentor to a child in this kind of fanciful situation that the human psyche of a 9 or 12-year-old, now an adult, can supplant these deepfake posters. Because if you type in Sinbad Shazam, you will find a number of not only movie posters, but stills that have been created by, I don't know who, Reddit users, message boards, you name it. They're out there. And quote, people just remember whatever the fuck they want.
It's true. To
quote Sinbad.
If you're interested on this kind of dynamic nature of memory, there's a great episode of a show I like called Adam Ruins Everything. Have you ever heard of that show?
I do, and I really want to make a podcast called Shades Ruins, Adam Ruins Everything.
He beat you to it, though, too, because he had an episode of Adam Ruins Everything.
Yes.
Where he fesses up to places where he was wrong.
Yes.
About
there are quite a few.
But that's why he always cites his evidence, so that you can go in and do the research and combat him if he wants. But he
former history teacher.
He did a great episode on criminal investigation and forensic work, and talk about memory, because he's talking about like eyewitness accounts, and how memories are so warped and twisted over time. How retelling over and over and over again.
Eyewitness accounts are almost meaningless.
So
they are so unreliable.
If you're interested in that kind of phenomenon, you can check out that episode. It's on Netflix. Adam Ruins Everything. It's forensic science.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for the share, and thank you for writing in, Emily Ann.
And nobody from Jakku.
And somebody from Naboo.
I'm seeing a rivalry starting.
Go for it.
I'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah. We'll egg you on.
I don't know who I get behind in that. Naboo or Jakku.
Who? Oh, that's the ultimate question. Who? Because
you got to ask,
support
they, like
somebody or nobody?
Yeah, and also like I guess it also depends. Like if we're talking, if the somebody from Jakku is a Gungan, it's like, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
they could have been better handled
on this. Midstream.
I was going to say mildly offensive, but incredibly offensive.
You could not pull that off these days.
You could not get away with it.
On this episode, they are not counter each other. We'll have to see in the future.
We'll see what happens in the future.
If they disagree. Nobody from Jakku and somebody from Naboo. And Emily Ann, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks for writing
in this week.
I guess that brings us to our announcement for our big 50th episode.
Woo!
Can you believe it's been 50 episodes?
2 years. 2 years of geeking out.
Well, for our 50th episode, our golden anniversary, we are going to be doing a Shades and Sketch double feature.
Whoa, you guys know those. We've done those before.
We have. They're always a good time.
Yeah.
We are going to be tackling the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, specifically the 1990 independent movie, live action, and the 2014 Michael Bay reboot, quote unquote, live action. It's debatable. Movies, but it's going to be a freewheeling conversation. We might talk about the 80s cartoon, the 2003 cartoon, the 2012 cartoon. We might talk about the comics. We might talk about the action figures. We might talk about subsequent sequel movies. Anything's fair game, but we're going to try and keep it to those two movies, the two firsts.
Good try.
And we are going to be joined.
Whoa, this is the news.
We're going to be joined in GoCo.
Yeah.
By longtime podcasters, geek culture aficionados, Brad and Chuck of the Chuck and Brad podcast. They've done, I think, somewhere around 430 episodes.
We're just youngins.
I've listened to about 210 of them. It's always a great time. They know their stuff, and we're very excited to be joined by them and their expertise for this installment. So it's going to be a great time, guys. Tune in next week. 50th episode.
That's something. It's all downhill from here.
It is.
So you better listen to this one. It'll be the peak.
It will.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys.